10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey everyone, welcome to an episode of Skeptic Spin. I don't want to say it's going to be a fun one, but let's see what happens. I definitely gathered the super friends for this one though. So here today we got Joe, the Kentucky atheist, Nick Suter from the In Time Show on YouTube, Maya Atkinson from Maya Atkinson, and JL from Bridge the Divide. How you four doing tonight?
Good.
We're
doing
Awesome.
as good as we can be.
Yeah, well, I mean, the internet has been just full of YouTubers, content creators, letting loose on their thoughts on the events of Tuesday. Now, I decided to have this panel show even before knowing the outcome of the election. Originally, I was looking forward to a discussion on woohoo, Harris is going to be president. What do we get to look forward to from her? And obviously from, a Trump temper tantrum, which, unless things get violent, can usually be fun. Instead, we're sitting here with another Trump presidency looming. So the first question I would like to ask, and I'm going to start with, JL, I'm going to start with you. Are we being way too dramatic?
I think that the vast majority of people out there are being way too dramatic about the wrong things. That people are fired up on. I think about a bunch of surface level stuff. That there's going to be some really, really ugly stuff that's going to happen before the midterms. The really, really ugly stuff, by my estimation, is going to happen after the midterms. So there's still that kind of like 2-year period where it's going to kind of like set up, and then you've got the horror show that's going to come after that, and that's going to involve like a number of international stuff like Russia and Israel and things like that, because those Putin and Netanyahu want to make sure that he keeps the House, that he keeps Republican control, so that they can move forward with certain things, but. It's about these long-term things. I think people are not focused because the reaction is just orange man bad and black woman almost president, which there's a lot. There's a lot of things that are wrong with this country when it goes to things. They're just upset about the wrong things. There's too many things to blame to go into a giant list, because there's things across the aisle, everywhere. There's problems abound, and I think that's the focus. We need to focus on why we should be angry and focus on those correct things, because when we focus on why, what's legitimately we should be angry about, then we can formulate a plan going forward. But if we spend all this time on social media turning into them, which is what most kind of like freaked me out, is like, oh crap, we are becoming what they were 4 years ago. And it's just the board is just swung around, and I'm like, none of that, and that's what helped me back off. And I was kind of like, why am I mad? What should I be mad about? And then rethink about that. And that was the only bit of advice I can give, is like, don't turn into them. Be mad about the right things. So I think that's where our focus should lie.
Do you agree with that, Joe?
I mean, to some extent, I think that right now, rather than because it seems like a lot of people are trying to say, well, this is why, and this person did this, and there is a lot of finger pointing and stuff going on. And maybe the first thing we need to realize is that a huge number of Americans openly support the things that Trump stands for, and that's a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed. And there's a lot of things that go into that, though. Education and the bigotry and hate that seems to be growing rather than shrinking. There's a lot that goes into that.
Do they support the things that Trump believes, though? Because I find a lot of what Trump is saying to be bullshit and a lot of lies. So are they believing what he's saying, or do they believe in what he believes in?
They believe in what he means, I guess, rather than what he's saying. because a lot of what Trump says are dog whistles and appeals to hateful emotions, and that seems to be what an insignificant number of people support, or a non-insignificant number of people. Sorry.
Trivial.
Yeah. Maya. So America decided to vote in their first presidential felon before their first presidential win. How do you feel about that?
It's been, I mean, when I'm looking at the numbers, he seems to have got, as far as I can tell, at least, I know all the votes aren't in, but he seems to have gotten the same amount of votes that he did 4 years ago. And it appears at least that the Democrats lost a lot of people to the couch, which I've been very vocal about. I'm not seeing people focus on a lot of the things. I personally blame the media for it. But when I'm listening to Trump supporters, like, why are you actually getting up and going out to vote for this person in particular, outside of the people who think that he just, honest to God, is the second coming of Christ? There's
that one triggers me too. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
I mean, if that's what you believe, I mean, okay, yeah. Why? I guess, why wouldn't you? But a lot of people really believe that he is going to be better for the economy. I've been saying forever that the right holds the media, and we've got to gain control of the narrative because we have the facts. We have the actual facts. They decided, like, a long time ago, back, when Reagan was president, that they weren't going to govern with facts. They were going to tell people, they were going to do what they were going to do, and then tell everybody that everything was great. And people don't understand economics. They don't understand what's going on, so they can do whatever and blame welfare queens or immigrants, the cartels, whatever, the wall, or lack thereof. Trump walked in saying, I'm going to build that wall. And nobody knew that Bush built a wall. It's nuts to me how they can walk in, they can say whatever they want. What's happening on the right is that everybody's like, oh, we like Trump's economy so much better than Biden's economy. And everybody understands, like, well, yeah, we understand that COVID was a worldwide pandemic, but nobody knows that, like, the US had the fastest bounce back, or that our economy is the envy of everybody. They just think, like, oh, well, we'd be back to 2019 rates if Trump were in office. Why would you think this? Why would you think this? But I mean, it's just, because they're being told that. You on right-wing media, this is what they're hearing. And so this is what they're voting for, because we're not vocal. We don't have Biden on TV saying, yes, I did this for you. Yes, I did that for you. We don't have media wall-to-wall coverage saying, this is why Biden is good. This is what Biden has done. We have media wall-to-wall saying Biden is in the death throes of dementia. And
I would even argue a little bit that even the left-wing media still reports on Trump to laugh at him. So, like, Trump being the butt of every joke politically, he must have got like 4-to-1 screen time. Like, every thumbnail on YouTube that is about politics in general had a big weird orange face of Trump on there, and so the whole world was just getting overloaded with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me to a question I've been thinking about, and I'll throw this over to Nick. What if Biden hadn't dropped out? Would we be sitting in a different spot right now?
Oh boy. That's a good question. I think you'd have to have a better understanding of why Kamala lost for us to answer that, and I think it's too early to have a good understanding of why. I do think sexism played a huge part. I think everybody here has mentioned at least part of what it was. I also think people didn't get much of a chance to get to know her because
That would be my point.
she was silent for much of the Biden administration, and then all of a sudden she's the candidate, and she's got 2-3 months to build a rapport. And sometimes for people, I think it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. So I think we're gonna have to figure out later why. I do think Biden had really become a liability. Speaking of not becoming what you behold. One of the things I so dislike about the modern Republican Party is that reality really doesn't seem to carry much, if any, weight. And I think it should carry weight in ours. And I think Joe Biden, the evidence had been there before his debate that he had reached a point, and it has nothing to do with age because that point comes for everybody, but it comes at different ages. It's just he had reached a point where cognitively, and he clearly had good days because I saw an interview with him later and he knocked it out of the park. But I had seen previous interviews with him and there were reports, and the best understanding that I had was he was not qualified. He was not capable really of being president any further. So are we going to sit there and say, well, you can't vote for their unqualified candidate, vote for our unqualified candidate.
Right.
So I think he had to be replaced one way or another. I think it was a bit of a Hail Mary.
I truly believe that there's no such thing as bad publicity. And Trump has technically, essentially been campaigning since 2016.
Yep.
Like he never really stopped having rallies and traveling and campaigning and selling MAGA hats. And Biden, when he finally started his campaign run, Trump already had like a 7.5-year head start.
Yep.
And that first debate was terrifying.
Well, the biggest issue there is that, and to go with what Nick was saying, is that the media did a lot of that job for him. Is that by highly publicizing all of the trials that he was in and all of his legal woes, is that they kept him at the forefront of people's minds, and so he just had to kind of piggyback off of what the media was doing for him, and that was both the left and the right. They're like, Trump, brought up on charges, Jack Smith, all of that stuff kept him present in kind of in people's awareness. And so he just needed to piggyback on that and be like, okay, so they're going to bring my name up. So that'll give me a chance to talk about what I'm going to do and talk about all these things and point these things out and run off that. So that momentum just kind of carried him along. The biggest issue, and I think that if Biden had stayed in, or if Biden had, Biden had continued his term, no, we'd be in the exact same spot. Trump still would have taken it. And because predominantly when you have someone like him, the one thing the Democrats have not seemed to figure out, and I don't understand why this is that there's going high and going low. Going low is not going to win anything because they can just go lower. But trying to go high, you need to be unimpeachable, which means you can't give the image of going back on yourself or double talking, speaking out of both sides of your mouth, any of that shit. And Biden did that when he stated unequivocally that he was going to be a one-term, he's going to be a transitionary president to go to the next person, and then decided to stay in because he's the only one who could beat Trump. That was the first big mistake because that was he changed his mind.
I didn't even know he had done that. Yeah.
And when he first started out, he was going to be a one-term president. And so, but then when he threw his hat again, he's, I'm going to run again. And then when all of a sudden it was after the debate, all of a sudden the Democratic Party freaks out. And when the writing was on the wall, as Nick said, the writing was on the wall. The Democratic Party freaks out, and then they don't hold a primary, and they just install Kamala. Mistake.
It was too late. It was too late to do another primary.
It arguably it was because they dragged their feet. It was mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, and because the American people are angry. And the majority feel angry and disenfranchised. That is a very easy thing to spin in someone's favor. And instead of Kamala and her team and the Biden administration going to addressing directly the things that ail people, Okay, whether they are superficial or not, okay, whether or not, but explaining these things and being honest about these things and addressing these problems directly. Instead, they want to say, at least we're not him.
That's not
And
true.
that's
I mean, she had a platform. She was talking on things.
She did. But the reality of it goes, like we said, the vast majority of people in this country, okay, and I loved the new business plans. I loved the new home plans. I loved the ideas that she had. Those are great solutions, but they're not solutions to problems now, to what is ailing people. And the fact that she wasn't addressing those things directly and often, okay, instead shows that to spend the majority of her time indicating, basically saying, to nutshell it, we're not that guy. Okay, that was the biggest issue, and it just made people more frustrated. It made people more angry, which is why, despite Obama level excitement, I don't
understand. I disagree with all that. I really do. I mean, I know that that's what the media wants us to think.
No, it's the idea. You have to look at the numbers. It's Obama level excitement, and 12 to 15
Okay,
million
how do you get
out.
Obama level excitement and anger and frustration? How do you get both Obama level excitement?
Obama level excitement for the people that are following her, for the people that are following her.
Turnout. You can't have that. That's an oxymoron. You can't get it.
No, you can. You can from that smaller group, from that group of people who were excited about that, with the rallies that she had and the numbers that she was posting up and the positive numbers she was posting up, and yet 12 to 15 million.
You get excited people that don't vote. That's what you're saying?
And then 12 to 15 million people stayed home.
Yeah,
okay, I mean, there's more going on. There's more going on.
Something's not adding up.
Right.
You either one or the other. I I don't want to I really don't want to buy into the rhetoric. I know that there were a lot of people who were really excited about her. There were a lot of people when she was running in 2019 who were really excited about her, like the wine moms, soccer moms, old ladies like me. I had a lot of groups that were devastated that she dropped out, but she lost support. We got to a point where it was Kamala or bust, and they're at the point that Biden was forced to step down. There were no other options. And I think they did the best run of it. But what we're talking about is the people that we lost to the couch, the people that it's the same people that didn't vote for Hillary. And we're talking about why. And I don't think I think it's for the same reason.
Kamala was exciting, but yeah, she clearly wasn't exciting enough to make people.
She was exciting. It was. I mean, just looking at the numbers.
People that were. She was exciting to the core base.
Yeah.
Yes,
she was exciting the same way in a wrestling match.
Who were very
when
vocal.
That third person runs down the ramp that you weren't expecting to show up, and they elbow drop the referee.
Yeah, she was exciting to the same people who were excited about Hillary.
But loudness doesn't equate to people following through.
We're talking about the people.
Well, no, I think she's talking. I think what Maya is saying is that there. And I would concur. Having worked on the Obama campaign, I remember he sold himself. When you go door knocking for Obama, he sold himself. There was not that level of enthusiasm with Kamala. The enthusiasm that we saw, especially when it started, was more, oh my God, we're back in this thing, and with a good candidate. Yeah. She was a good candidate, but nobody thought that she was Obama. Nobody had that. Well, level
let's talk about that. The level of vocal. I think it was the level of vocalism, the high level of vocalism, the high level of energy, and the fact that the Democratic Party finally seemed united for the first time. It was like, holy crap! All this division that we've had, and then the splintering and fracturing that was going on, and the wishy-washy hand wringing that was going on behind the scenes that we could feel through the media, and then all of a sudden, everything's united again. That was engaging and energizing. And so, but ultimately because, and this is just my opinion, you can disagree with me on that, the Democratic Party is completely out of touch with what is actually going on in America, in the daily lives of Americans, and that people have become, on the vast majority, have become fed up with individuals at the top telling them what their problems are, while not living in their states or understanding what they're dealing with at a local level. It was all surface level shit that did not, and it was not addressing bigger points. Trump did the exact same thing that we anticipated him doing. He played to their fears. He played to their anger. He played to their disenfranchisement. That's what he went to. And he used that as a tool to steer them in the direction that he wanted to steer them in, or to keep them home. And it's what every autocrat has ever done, ever. And we watched him do it. Or let's say the nation watched him do it. And because they're too angry to see past it. This is the exact same reason why Christian nationalism gets what it gets, and the same reason why flat earthers exist and First Amendment auditors exist. The same mentality is there. And so, I mean, ultimately, like I said, but there's blame across the board. There's blame on both sides of the aisle, blaming the American people, media, everywhere. So it all was a perfect storm that just worked against her.
Look, white men, I love you.
Oh no, here we go.
I don't want this stream to go by without me saying, because I don't really talk politics on my show, but like nobody's like calling out, and I know the media can't because they need you to like buy whatever they're selling. But you got to step the fuck up, man. Like, holy crap.
It's funny that you brought it up, Maya, because I was literally telling the gents since you arrived last that I wasn't going live until we had Maya's voice here. Because I was like, I'm not doing a panel of 4 white dudes. I'm just not doing it.
And you know what? You won't find anybody of color more vocally supportive of. Well, okay, there's probably your what's the fucking Uncle Tom? Oh God, what's the black Republican in South Carolina?
The one?
Byron.
Is there
Byron.
only one?
Oh no, Robinson, Mark Robinson.
No, he wanted to be Trump's VP.
Byron.
Oh,
Tim Scott?
Tim Scott, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe he's more vocally supportive of white men than me. But like on the left, I have to remind people all the time, and like men, abortion affects men. Like I don't think that you guys should be completely out of the conversation. I just maybe don't think that you deserve the,
you know, the final say. No,
right, exactly. We've never had a movement has never been successful without a fair number of white men interacting with it. Like anything, whether it's women's suffrage, getting voting rights for Title IX, like anything. In America, white men have had to be in the forefront of it, or like significant numbers for us to get anything off the ground. So I do love you, but like, is it?
I love a sentence that starts, "I love you," but
yeah, seriously though, I'm
just say it, Maya.
Really tired.
Just say it.
You're trying to be super political right now, and it's all right.
Let her say it.
Yeah,
let her say it.
Direct,
everyone else has to be quiet for her to say it.
We can find some middle ground. So go for it.
Joe, I think you were doing a show yesterday or the day before with was it Jedi or Jester?
Jester.
Yeah. And you were trying to get him to push, and he was like, I don't know, like, does there need to be another white man out there? I'm like, yes, fucking yes. We need more liberal white men telling the conservative white men what to do, because they don't do shit on their own. They only do what they're told. And what we need is to replace Alex Jones with Nick Suter, right? Or we're Justin, or we're JL, or we're Joe. Like, I need fewer Alex Jones, more of those to go the way of Rush Limbaugh, right? Because I don't know what it is with conservative white men, but like they only do what they're told to do, and they only listen to white men, which means we need more liberal white men.
No balls.
Yes, they are fucking beta men. They think they're alphas, but I don't know, like maybe my idea of alpha and beta are opposite. Everything's a bizarro world right now for me today, and I don't know how we happen to find a timeline below the lowest. But for fuck's sake.
I've heard you say that a couple of
that-
times now.
You know what else you've heard me say a couple of times? I'm sick and tired of living in a nation that would rather die under fascism than be led by a goddamn woman.
Yeah.
We need to step it the fuck up. This was a sexist. Kamala lost because of sexism, period. And we could put lipstick on a pig and say, oh, the Democrats are out of touch, but you know what? So are the Republicans. We could put lipstick on a pig and say, Kamala should have talked about, bread and butter issues, but you know what? Trump didn't do that shit either. Joe Biden had record numbers and he never left the goddamn basement. He hid in his house because of COVID and had record numbers that eclipsed every other white man in the history of ever in America. He didn't say a goddamn thing. He did not hit the campaign trail. He ran on I am not Trump. And me being not Trump will restore the soul of America. Record fucking numbers. Kamala touched everybody twice. Oh, I just don't know. And we lost to a fascist, racist, rapist.
It's true.
This was sexism. And I'm going to shut the fuck up.
No. And I agree with everything you're saying. Everything 100%. Like I said, there's problems all over the place. But as far as like when you say sexism, I also think internalized misogyny as well. Looking at how white women turned out in the exit polls, is that internalized misogyny and sexism on both sides, and so these massive problems that we have here. It was a sex issue. It's a misogyny issue. It's a fucking racism issue. It's a goddamn economic issue. It's all of it. And like I said, when I say perfect storm, I'm talking about all of these things coming together that just worked against her. That is like, how do you fight every one of those problems at the same time, while trying to take the high road against a piece of shit like that, who is willing to go as low as possible, okay, to the point of either just straight up calling your opponent an idiot or a psycho or a communist, to mock filleting a microphone, and everywhere in between, and yet there he is.
That was like literally like the last Trump image we got to before the election started was him like giving head to a freaking mic stand. And he still won. Anyway, sorry, Nick, go ahead.
Well, no, I want to ask a question because I think there's a bit of a fallacy here, which is I think if any number of you could pick one or two things that could change, and maybe she would have won. But I do think that the single biggest one that if you could have changed it should have won, and probably by a considerable amount, is the sexism issue. I think if she had been a man, she probably would have won. So if everybody on this panel concurs with that, then since the left is most likely to be the first to elect a woman, and we couldn't do it in this election cycle versus, as Maya pointed out, a rapist felon who is trying to conquer everything. When will the United States of America be ready for a female president if the Democrats themselves couldn't elect one on this cycle?
Well, I got two things to pile onto that. So one, I don't remember where I heard it now, but I believe in Pennsylvania, 52% of women voted for Trump. And when asked why, the answer was because they didn't think a woman could be a president. So the sexism didn't just come from the men either. There was a little bit.
I'm not saying it came from
the women. The other thing,
don't give me. I mean, I know I'm like throwing white men. I threw white men out there. Southern women, Pennsylvania. I not throwing them in there, but I know for a fact Southern women are misogynistic. Like there's, and a lot of it comes from their Christian background.
Yeah. And then the other thing I heard.
Sorry, my bad.
The other thing I heard too, and this one might have just been from like Jon Stewart or whatever, like a comedian, but the line was, the only chance a woman has to become president at this stage is if the Republicans nominate one. So like kind of waiting for them to.
Which actually, I think there is a a non-trivial chance that that could happen, and that would be the route, and there are reasons for that. But
I mean, this season we saw the epic failure of both Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. They're not ready for it anytime soon. Just based on results.
Well, interesting that a couple hours before this stream started, Trump truthed. So he says, I will not be inviting the former ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration, which is currently in formation. I very much enjoyed and appreciated working with them previously and would like to thank them for their service to our country. Make America great again.
I think we should just call it by its Russian name, Pravda.
I don't know if we'll be ready. And well, okay, so I would have thought in my lifetime that we would be ready, at least in my lifetime. But given what's on the table now, no guardrails, and the possibility, I'm not saying I can't say what's going to happen. I don't even want to make predictions. I don't, because I fear that they will be more terrible than I could possibly predict. But given what's on the table, especially when you have a candidate, when you have a guy who's the president-elect, whose primary goal, not to mention the powerful forces behind him, or the money that's behind him, they want to fuck with the source code of America, aka the Constitution, and they want to like alter that to whatever like this. I don't know. I can't even say that there could be another election like this in the future. Okay, we could wind up having Russian elections where it's like, oh, Putin's running against somebody. Really? Someone's going to run against Putin? Okay.
It was nice knowing them.
All right. And
the good news is the chance of that is reasonably rare. It's not.
I mean, what were the number two issues among Americans going into this election? It was immigration of brown people.
Yeah.
And
economy and immigration.
Abortion, women's rights. I mean, these are the things that people said that they cared about most. Just everybody took it as they cared about it for our side of this argument. And it turns out they cared about it from the other side. They wanted the brown people gone and they wanted the women's rights gone. That's what they pushed for and got. Those were the number one issues going into this election, and they succeeded.
Well, in fairness, though, Southern states voted for abortion 15 points over Kamala. So,
yeah.
I mean, we're hoping that those would coincide. And
Florida was the only state that didn't pass the abortion, right?
Exactly. Well, and in fairness, most Floridians did vote to keep the 16-week abortion, but not 60% of it, which for whatever reason was needed.
That's the threshold that's needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we really we'll dive totally in on Trump and his cabinet. I want to explore a little bit of his cabinet that he's going to be putting together too, because I've seen a lot of live streams already talking about and bitching about Trump. We already know what his problems are.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, please.
Towards Joe. So I don't want to like throw anybody out there, but two members of the community, I've been on the fence about the racism. I haven't been willing to take it off the table. But when I talked to two members of the community in Gather last night, they were saying that it was definitely about, that racism definitely played a part. They're from, one's from your state, and then another one I believe is from Louisiana, just saying that, there's a lot of white people who will vote against someone of color because they are of color and they don't want Black people to have anything. They don't want, or even a white person who's promising to give Black people anything, that they want to see people of color kept down. Can I just get your thoughts on how big of a part you think that played, if any, in this election? Okay,
so from my position here in the beautiful state of Kentucky, those things are definitely real and a real problem. Those are things that people talk about. The country bumpkins,
like openly talk about. Like if you went to a local pub, this is bar talk.
Yes.
Oh man.
That kind of behavior is still very alive and present in places like this. In rural America, this stuff still goes on. It's not gone. It's not so mainstream because it's in rural America mostly now. But these are real things. These people still behave this way. The KKK still finds it safe to hang out here. Like and I can't speak for other places. I'm not the most cultured person. I haven't gotten out of Kentucky much in my life. But from what I see around me, I mean, it would be hard to not believe that there aren't similar pockets throughout the United States in rural areas.
Pragmatic Crystal says South Louisiana, it's common talk also.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out for Pragmatic Crystal. She's working so hard since the beginning of the stream, getting all of your lovely links into the chat there. So PC, of course, you know we all love you, and thank you so much for the efforts you put forward. Yeah, so my last question about Kamala, really quick, and I would like to go around. We'll just start with Joe, and we'll work our way down. Would you like to see Kamala run again?
I would like to see Kamala get elected.
Right. Well, so then yes, you'd like to see her run again, because
if we're gonna
there'd be some magic shit for her to get elected without running.
Technically, Biden could resign, install her as president in the last 3, and then she could make some sweeping changes before you set the stage. Like, I'm just saying.
I think he should, just to overcome the psychological barrier. Just to overcome that psychological barrier. If he resigns, she becomes president. We have now had our first female president. The barrier is
watershed.
Wasn't elected, but it's gonna change the psychology of everybody going forward, whether they want it to or not.
Yeah, to quote JL from his live stream yesterday, that would be hacking the source code, wouldn't it?
Hey, man. 1 second to clarify. I would love to see Kamala get elected, but in order for that to take place, America has to be in a place to elect a black woman president. Yeah. And they've demonstrated very clearly that they're not in that place.
What I'm really asking though is, like, would you like to see her run with a real 2-year campaign again?
That's maybe not. I'd like to see her run. That's why she should run again, is because it has to be normalized. So
that's why I'm asking the question: is was Kamala just the, like, she's what we got, so let's put her out there, or is she legitimately, like, would be awesome as president and she shouldn't give up?
Awesome's a high bar. She's qualified, should do a good job, and she's at least as qualified. Pick any of the candidates we've run in the last 10 years, minus Obama, and she's on level with them. Obama was a Kennedy, he was a one in a kind of generation thing. She is absolutely would do a fantastic job.
Was she not this time?
Was she not what?
Those things you said. She was.
No, but I think going to the question wasn't would I elect her. I think all of us would want her elected. That's why we're on the left. All of us were disappointed when she wasn't elected. But should she run again? The common thinking is, if you've lost once, you don't run again. Is the common thinking in political circles. But I think she should run again because she is qualified, and I think you have to keep trying.
I'd love to see her with the years, with the time behind a full campaign to go out there and actually do that instead of like rush. I am blown away by how well she did in such a short amount of time to put together what she put together. It was just I was mind blowing. I was like, holy shit! Like,
she's very charming too.
She's got her. She's got it. I was like, she's more than qualified to do it. I would love to see her as a part of that primary now, with some other people, that have put out like that, and really fight with the time and effort to put all that effort into it, the time and energy to put all that into it, and go for it in the normal process, in the standard process. I'd love to see that. I want to see that Democratic floor with all the different candidates, and Kamala really get the opportunity to fucking shine and really, really put it out there. So I'd like to see that, because I dig the whole, the scrum. I dig the scrum going into the primaries. It's always kind of fun.
Maya, you'd like to see her try again?
I'd like to see. I mean, everything that they just said, I stand behind. I don't have anything. I can't counter any of it. personally, I'd love to see an AOC, a Cori Bush, Jasmine Crockett. I mean, not just, yeah, I know I'm like fangirling a lot of Black women, but
there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to find I'm just trying to find out if like is Kamala just the choice we had, or I mean, it wasn't it was you guys.
She was, honest to goodness, a solid candidate. She was a centrist. She was a corporatist. She would have maintained the status quo. A lot of people are, and they were right to look at her past to wonder what she was going to do in her future. But I think that she was selected for a very specific purpose, and that was to pick up the mantle that they expected of Joe Biden. She would have been considerably left of Biden. I don't think we would have had anything to worry about as far as like losing rights or losing anything. I think all of that would have been great. And she would have helped carry things on. If you're concerned about your health insurance lapsing under the Trump policy, about the status of the Supreme Court, if you're, status of your student loans or your rent payments, I don't think that, even a lot of people voted because like their eggs were too high. I think that we would have been on a good trajectory for all of those things under Kamala. I think that there are people in Congress that would do all of those things, plus push harder for more things that the people deserve, things that people in other industrialized nations are already getting, because we can afford it. We just lack the political will. And there are people who don't. I would like to see some of them step up, but is socialism bad and scary? So, ooh.
Yeah. Well, all right. So that sucked. We're all very upset that Kamala didn't win. I'm not even American. And even I was like, please, 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 please.
No, this is a blow
in
for
a
the
small
world.
way. One of the main reasons why I wanted to see her go is because you guys freaking deserve legal recreational weed now more than ever. But that's just me being the Canadian I am, who got access to it 24 hours a day. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to just jump right past the orange machine to someone he's putting in charge of all of your health.
Oh,
for fuck.
RFK.
No, he's not.
Like, he's
No,
not?
he's not.
Okay, Nick.
No.
What do you mean?
You don't think he will?
He's not going to make?
I think he's I think he's going to go back on his word. Believe it or not.
Oh, be one of the many betrayals. Okay. I'm actually good with that.
Yeah. I think as much as he may or may not agree on any one of RFK's views, I think he really thinks RFK is nuts. How fucking crazy do you have to be for Trump to think you've got a problem? So I think when he's
Trump offering him the position was just a way of getting anyone who was voting for him to vote for Trump.
Yes, it was, and RFK all but said that he basically asked each candidate, "What am I going to get if I endorse you?" And Trump was the only one who offered him something, but I don't think Trump meant it. And Trump's already been distancing. He's been distancing himself from RFK already, and RFK is already suggesting that he's nervous that maybe Trump's going to go back on his word.
Well,
I don't think it's going to happen.
Orange men lie? No. Color me shocked.
But also, like, when are we going to start believing that these people?
You just got rated by President Sunday. You should say hello.
Oh, nice.
Hey, President Sunday. Thanks for sending your viewers over here. I appreciate it so much. By the way, if you want the link, President Sunday, I would love to have you join us on the stage here. I'd tell you what, I'm just going to give Titan the link.
And I can send it to Sunday.
Oh, do you? Okay. I don't have Sunday in my DMs. So, send the link to Sunday, and I would love to have President Sunday join us on stage. Yeah, and if you're coming over here from President Sunday's live stream, thank you so much for joining us. We were just talking about Kamala Harris and what we liked, didn't like, and how that all kind of fell apart. And we went right past Trump. So you didn't miss any dumping on Trump yet, because I wanted to talk about RFK because one of the things I read was his day one was to stop all the fluoride in your guys' drinking water.
Yeah, I heard that one too. That's a
Yeah.
great idea. Ask England how well that works out.
Well, if you drink fluoride, then your pituitary gland shuts off, and that's where your third eye is.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I laughed because I did a video debunking that shit. Is from like the Woo King over on TikTok, and I remember breaking all that down. I was like, I was like, really? I was like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's a really popular lie.
It's like, what the hell? I don't have psychic powers because they put fluoride in the water.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And he's an anti-vaxxer as well, right? Which would not.
He's still a proponent of he's still a proponent of the vaccines cause autism shit that debunked papers like 10 years ago. So
he wants to. I don't know. They were talking at least about him not making any vaccines at all required for school.
But the government doesn't make the vaccines anyway.
No.
Say
just
what he have.
Remove the
Measles has entered the chat.
So he's for removing all vaccine requirements for school. So right now you have to get measles, mumps, rubella. You have to get the polio vaccine. He wants to remove all of them. You do not have to be vaccinated to go to school in the U.S. That's what he wants to do.
Completely ignoring the data of what happened. I think it was in Wisconsin. When Wisconsin
there's been a couple of
there was a couple of states.
Yeah. Right, where a massive measles outbreak took place because it's like, really?
A couple of states, He just, I don't.
My favorite, I'm sorry, my favorite is they interviewed one of his kids and they're like, so we went to the beach and there was a dead whale on the beach and Dad went down and sawed off its head and then strapped the head to the top of the car. And he was driving the whale head home in the car, and we had tried to roll up the windows, but you couldn't because there was rope. So whale juice was splattering all over me, and I got covered in whale juice while I was in the back seat of the car. And we're driving down with the head of the whale on the car. Sorry.
Do you hear about the bear thing too? The Central Park bear thing?
Yeah.
Where he found a dead bear on the side of the road, wanted to take it home to butcher it, but couldn't get it home, so he ditched it in Central Park, and then it was all over the news of like, this bear came out of nowhere and died in Central Park.
Oh my God. No, I seem to have missed that.
This is the same fucking shit that got us in this mess, guys, right? You know this, right?
Yeah.
Because Trump's saying he's going to do it. He said he's going to do it after his campaign as well.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't give a shit that RFK is a joke. That is the distraction. That is the distraction. All those stories and shit. He doesn't care that RFK is a joke. What he cares about is that he's loyal to him. And he showed that by going on the campaign. So do I think that he's going to put him there? He said he would. Why would I not take him?
He absolutely will. He absolutely will. Remember Betsy DeVos?
I am going to choose to just listen and believe Nick because I really
he loves loyalty, but RFK is not loyal. RFK is not loyal. If RFK were loyal, he wouldn't have shopped around. He does not like people that he has to buy off and then keep buying off. If he's had to buy him off once, he knows that RFK recognizes that he can buy him off again. No, he bought him off once and he's going to get rid of him. Think of this: the people who Trump trusts are the ones who voluntarily came to him and submitted. They bowed before the king. They kissed the ring. Yada. He wouldn't do that. He said, "What are you going to give me for my?" Do we not remember who
RFK offered this to first? It was Trump.
Yeah, but he wouldn't. And then he did both though. So that was his loyalty was bought. And while I admit the loyalty is bought of most people in Trump, that's not how it works in his mind. That's why he gets so upset when people betray him. He wouldn't get upset if RFK betrayed him because he knows RFK was just what is it? And his word is meaningless. His word is meaningless. Why put RFK in there when he can put in somebody else that'll at least be? Because the one thing he does want.
I mean, that's what he's filling all the positions with, right?
I mean, certainly Musk. I mean, Musk at least it's. I think he wants people who, at least in his view, are going to be able to keep the organization afloat, whatever they do, and keep it off of his desk. He doesn't want problems coming back to him. And RFK is going to create problems that come back to him. Musk, no. In fact, whatever Musk does, if Musk tanks the economy, great. Or let's say Trump, Trump, I was going to say, dumps the economy,
None of that
and
matters.
Musk is in position. He can just blame Musk. RFK gets too weird. People are going to sit there and say, "What are you doing putting that guy in?" No, I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it.
I think he and Elon are going to have a falling out before he takes office, honestly.
I wouldn't be surprised if SpaceX just scored a whole lot of NASA contracts. I kind of feel that's where that's going to go, because Trump doesn't want the electric cars. That doesn't suit his image whatsoever. So
It might be the one good thing that comes out of this, though.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we were talking about those magic 3 letters RFK. Let's chop one off and let's talk about 2 letters, JD Vance. How do you guys feel about him as vice president? I actually hear mixed things from, we'll call them allies for our purposes, people who are just as disappointed and sad as we are, but some people like, well, he's actually got, I believe he's got a degree from Harvard. Like he's apparently not an idiot. Meanwhile, dude goes around saying and doing a lot of stupid things.
I think he's going to get relegated. I think he's going to get relegated to the couch.
Yeah,
pun intended. That's essentially what's going to happen. Is that's
what all happens to all VPs?
Right.
Yeah.
The nature of the VP is basically the couch. He's going to wind up sitting there like Pence was sitting there like in that one meeting where it's like,
yeah, I mean,
and nobody's paying attention to him. He's going to get relegated to the couch so he can have fun over there. And that's going to be it. I
mean, and also JD Vance is a fuckboy, right? Like he
really?
Yeah. I mean, so like he'll do whatever it takes to like keep the amount of power that he has or to get more. He's I don't know. Like a lot of people are like, I mean, he's like I don't know. He's like a discount Trump.
Allow me to put a situation on the table that I don't think is all that far-fetched.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is the oldest elected president ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's too far out there to think of a situation where Trump doesn't make it to the end of his term, which would make JD Vance not just.
No, I think he's suggesting the 25th. That's what people are banting around, that he waits until he waits 2 years in, 2 years and a day in. Then if he can get the cabinet on board for invoking the 25th, because Trump's got dementia, he's eating too many cheeseburgers, whatever. He's got 2 years. Yeah, he's got 2 years then as the incumbent, and then that doesn't count as a term. So then he is running as an incumbent for essentially a second term, but he's not going to be a lame duck when he comes in. That's the theory.
No chance in hell.
So if you had to vote between Trump and Vance,
oh, dear Lord.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I call JD Vance Trump light, he'd be a rubber stamp, just like Trump. I mean, the problems that I have with Vance are the problems I have with Trump are the same ones I have with Vance. Just they're different issues, but it would bear out the same result. I'm sorry, Nick.
I think Trump is less of a rubber stamp, though. I think you have to cater to his ego a bit more, and I think that slows down other people in his orbit that have an agenda. I think because Trump has an ego that has to be constantly fed, I think that slows down Trump's ability and the ability of people in the Heritage Foundation and everyone in his orbit to get him to do whatever, because he has to feel like it was his idea. And he has to feel like he's going to get credit for it. I don't think Vance would have any of those requirements. And I think Vance really would rubber stamp things, and things would go downhill faster with Vance because he doesn't have his ego in the way.
I remember when Trump was elected in 2016, and a lot of the early first interviews were about how he didn't realize how much work it was actually going to be. And if he could do it over again, he wouldn't. But then I feel like 2016 Trump was a child in the White House, and there was gatekeepers in place everywhere to kind of keep things more or less on rail, or as best to their ability. That it feels different this time. Am I wrong? I feel like Trump is like, no, I understand how this shit works now.
No.
and we're going to do it my way.
Well, he was unprepared.
No, Trump ran so that he didn't go to jail. He didn't do anything in the White House. What happened is there are a lot of people around him that are like, oh, now that we know this is a thing that can happen, let's break the guardrails to make it easier for us to, garner power.
Yeah, they're taking advantage of him, but he knows it because all he wants is to be able to pardon himself, and he's okay with anybody else's agenda so long as they can help him get into that position.
Yeah.
So once he's got that, he still wants to be the ceremonial part of president, which is all he thought it was in the first place. But he is absolutely gonna, and that's what he's gonna be like. Oh, Heritage Foundation, yeah, you guys tell me what needs to get done, and we'll do it. So long as again I get to get the credit for it. And they're like, absolutely, and that's why the 2025 plan mentions him so heavily, is because they want to make sure that even though he had to distance himself in order to win, now he's going to embrace it. They're like, I had a second look at this plan. This is a great plan. And he's just going to go and he'll throw out the courtesy, oh, I disagree here, here, and here. But for the most part, he's also going to do it just to fuck with people. He's going to do it to fuck with the people who got him into the White House, because he cannot help but fuck with people. That is the one reason why I still think Ukraine genuinely thinks that this was a good idea, electing him, because their theory is that since they've only gotten 10% of the aid that they were promised, how could it be any worse under Trump? And he's so unreliable, and so unpredictable, maybe he'll really start giving them aid. I highly doubt that, but I've actually heard some reasonably good arguments for that. I'm like, okay, that's a good argument, because sometimes just to remind everybody that he's in charge, he'll jank left or right, and you have no idea what the fuck he's going to do.
So our deal with Ukraine, though, it's not just the U.S., right? Isn't there a couple of countries?
Yeah, the problem is the U.S. provides the bulk of the support. So if the U.S. stops doing it, a lot of people, the concern is that the EU countries in particular are going to say, well, if the U.S., which is richer than all of us, isn't willing and has the biggest military of all of us, isn't even willing to give their surplus, why should we, especially since we're the ones who may have to deal with Russia if they decide to go after Moldova or some other country after Ukraine?
Well, I understand that's a concern, but a primary concern of theirs as well is getting the U.S. out of NATO so that Russia could come after the rest of Europe. Correct?
So I was looking into this because I've heard, hold on, because I looked into it just briefly. Because it was mentioned. Look, I've been on YouTube way too long in the last few days, watching all of you guys go on, and I think it was on one of your programs where someone brought up that topic of Trump dropping out of NATO. He can't.
We talked about that on mine.
Okay,
a couple of people. I mean, well, okay.
So he can't technically.
He can't just say.
But he can just not be involved, and he just like.
There's a number of it would be successive steps.
What if he pisses off NATO too much? This is what they do. It's really simple. They say, we're going to create EU-TO. It's going to be the EU, NATO, and they create another organization that has all the same rules as NATO, operates exactly as NATO does, and they invite all of the NATO members minus one. And they just don't invite the US, and then they've recreated NATO, and then eventually NATO becomes obsolete because everybody's just doing it through EU-TO or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I would also put this forward too. Canada is so tight with the UK, US, and Australia that even if the US wasn't part of an organization for global defense, if Canada got into a fight, the States would be right there. They would have to be, whether there was some kind of like organization or not. So I mean, that's how I think about it.
I do want to rein in one thing, because I mean, all of these are sort of like hypotheticals that I find really fascinating, because I have a degree in philosophy. So I like to think about shit like this and just go, how could all of this get put together? The reality is we still don't know what's going to happen with the House. If the House falls to the Democrats, Trump is going to have a problem ramming his legislation through, because the Democrats are going to, I mean, you are going to see unity, the likes of which you've never seen before, because we are all friggin' terrified. Meanwhile, on the right, what you're going to see is everybody who's had a wish list for 10 years of things that they want as soon as the control of all three branches of government was unified, they're going to sit there and say, you won't get my vote unless I get my wish list. So they're going to start fighting and arguing with each other. If that doesn't happen, if we don't keep if we don't get the House, we can get it, because every member of the House is up again every 2 years, and you will see Democrats coming out in a way, hopefully, that you've never seen before. And because if we do not take it, so Trump's at best going to get 2 uncontested years. That's not nearly as much time as it seems, especially with the institutionalized resistance that I think that there's going to be to Trump in general.
Something that you brought up, and Maya brought this up as well, and it just got me, was that Trump obviously running to try and keep himself out of legal hot water in order to avoid this stuff, and invariably, pardoning himself and pardoning other cronies that were around him, same shit. And it's something that Devin brought up over at Legal Eagle, and it was the idea that even if Trump were to do that, so if he pardons himself, a part of taking a pardon is an admission of guilt. Is that you admit your guilt, and the pardon applies at the federal level, okay, as per the rules of that. So he could do this. So the federal government couldn't go after him anymore, but it does not absolve him.
Who said that it involves him admitting guilt?
It's a YouTube channel called Legal Eagle.
Called Legal
2 million
Eagle.
Subscribers. Very good.
Oh, I know who Legal Eagle is. I like him a lot. And he's right, very much right about it's only the federal level. So Trump remains a felon. He still has the Georgia state.
So when he gets
charges.
when he gets out of office, the states can still come after him.
Yes.
So it's
and New York, if he gets sentenced, he hasn't been sentenced yet in New York.
Right.
He could be sentenced to prison time. If he's sentenced to prison time, there's going to be an issue between the state and the federal government, who's going to say you cannot put the president of the United States in prison. That will go to the Supreme Court, that will rule in the federal government's favor, and Trump will be out of office. His prison time will then be suspended until after he gets out of office, and then he's got to litigate that again. But either way, he cannot make the New York conviction go away. He can make the secret files case go away, and he's going to do that one. He can't make the Cummings Florida case or the Georgia case go away. He can't do any of those.
The secret files case was almost gone before he became before he was elected. Anyways,
I love Legal Eagle. I watch him all the time. Nixon was pardoned without admitting any guilt, and in fact, he was pardoned for any future possible crimes relating to. So I have no idea how you. So I'd be curious. Send me the link to that, because that is absolutely not my understanding, and that is not how pardons have worked in the past.
I've heard people say it in theory when talking about Trump in theory, but
Nixon was
hard to
pardoned
say
and hadn't been even charged with a crime.
Right.
He hadn't been charged. So how did he get pardoned if that was true?
Yeah.
Unless he in private. I mean, do you go privately to the president? And say,
there's procedure. There's everything needs to happen in a certain order. You can't pardon yourself for a crime you haven't been officially found guilty.
You don't have to be charged.
Yeah, you don't have to be charged. You don't have to, because Nixon wasn't charged.
Okay, so according to Burdick v. U.S., the Supreme Court's opinion on that was that a pardon carries, I hate their terminology, an imputation of guilt and acceptance of a confession of it. This was part of the court's dictum for the case, whether the acceptance of an imputation of guilt and acceptance of a confession of it. So
what does that
mean? So they did their best to word it like yes, but no. It's so
because what they could have said was an implication of
implication.
But instead they said imputation, which gives much more wiggle room. It's the first time I've ever heard that used correctly in a sentence.
So yeah, Burdick v. U.S. was that. So it's like whether
Okay, well, to impugn. Impugn has to do. Impugn is a form of slander. So impugn is, I say you're guilty. I have impugned your credibility, but it's not an actual. So what they're saying is it makes you look guilty is really what they're saying.
Yeah. So I had to Google it because I keep thinking you're saying
They're saying we're
imputation,
giving-
and I'm thinking implication, and I'm like, wait, what's imputation?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, wait a minute. So Google is saying an imputation is a charge or claim that someone has done something undesirable, an accusation. So
So you're
claim,
accepting
but
the
it's not a formal.
you're accepting the
imputing.
claim, the
accepting the
accusation.
claim and an acceptance of a confession of those things in order to accept the pardon. So it's there, but it's kind of like, oh well, I'm just.
Well, I accept that you're accusing me of it.
Right.
Yeah,
Kind of what it's saying.
It's almost kind of like an Alfred plea. It's in that sense. It's kind of like I'm just not going to fight it. You know,
I'm sorry you think I'm guilty.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just found that
brings us.
intriguing. So
That's a great segue into something else I'd like to talk about, and is the U.S. Supreme Court. And
We're fucked.
all right, well then let's move on to our next topic.
I was just
Would you like to
anybody
elaborate,
think that we're
Maya?
not?
it's currently 6'3". 2 are probably going to retire in the next like 2 to 40 years. Those 2 retire. They're going to replace with younger versions of them, probably more conservative versions of them, and it's going to be 6'3" for a while unless Joe Biden, uses that presidential immunity that he's got and starts swinging. I'm just saying.
Are you suggesting that he shoots Supreme Court justice in the back?
I'm saying that some people can be found to be clear. I'm just saying that some people can be found to be clear and present dangers to national security and should be detained for investigation.
I do apologize, Justin. I think you've been demonetized for the next 7 years. But,
it's fine. I'm Canadian, so it's okay.
I'm not. I'm just saying it's hard to be a Supreme Court justice when you're in Guantanamo.
I would consider it an honor to be on Trump's list.
Okay, Justice Thomas, please pay no mind to the alligator clips that are hooked up to the car battery. Now,
we just met JL today. We did not know.
Exactly. I have never heard who this person is in my life. I am not associated with him in any way.
Keep in mind, we are the enemy within. So I know Nick is gonna like. Oh, it's funny because it's true.
Just as we're just taking names, like no more Nick, no more JL.
Please,
never.
Please do not impugnate what I was
this is the first time you heard the word, and you heard it again within 24 hours.
I got to say it. I got to say it in context within like 2 minutes. I'm just like.
All right, so that's going to be like our new Pee Wee Herman word of the day. Every time someone can use it, we all got to scream, whenever we hear it.
That'll be the last time we hear it.
Yeah, on that note, if you like what you're watching, guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe right now, as JL's glasses are fogging up.
Bitch.
Speaking of son of bitch, let's talk about Trump.
I needed that because it's been a few days since I've had a good, solid laugh, like a good, real laugh, and we need that.
I've never laughed in a political stream this
my
week.
Discord the day after was very quiet. I noticed people on Facebook changing their profile pictures to just black circles. And you know what I did? You know what I did as a Canadian? I immediately turned on the Canadian House of Commons and started to pay attention, because I can't let that can't happen here too. I just can't.
Right.
So
we may or may not need somewhere to seek asylum.
Well, I've been very vocal about anybody who can get their butts to the Niagara Falls border. Call me, I'll pick you up.
I will do it. I will do it on foot.
I have about 150 million people who are about ready to take you up on that offer. So
I only have one requirement: bring your own snow shovel, because you're not using mine.
So I just want to point out. So Wig is saying I didn't expect the terrorism section of the stream. It isn't. I'm saying that with presidential immunity, certain declarations can be declared within the scope of the president's powers. If it's a presidential action, he's technically immune, which means I was surprised he didn't just swing it, just automatically declare Trump a threat to national security, given the whole like secure documents case, declare him as that, and then go after him at that level. Because I mean, he's immune. If Trump wanted it, Trump facilitated it. Trump wanted it. The Supreme Court facilitated it. Use the system against itself. Okay, it's just like hacking the source code. That's what it's about.
All I'm going to say is, when you're in a hole, the first rule is stop digging.
Stop digging.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I forget. I think it was on Nick's show. You had a guest on that was Canadian, and they listed themselves as the Canadian support person or something. Emotional support Canadian.
Emotional support Canadian.
Yeah. We had those during Trump's first term.
Yeah. That was pretty fantastic. So yeah, Trump. Let's dive in on some of that. What are we expecting from him on day one? I know he's said a lot of stuff, but I mean, within reason, what can he do and what do you expect him to do?
He's going to pardon himself. He's going to pardon all of the January 6th people that were involved. He's going to create a militia. Yes, absolutely.
I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares about him.
Oh, I think but if they're willing to go to jail for him, which actually kind of isn't necessarily the case, but I think that's how his 2 + 2, 2 Legos plus 2 more Legos equals.
I mean, I know they've been saying that. I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
agree with Maya on this because I mean, that's the scary thing is it can flip either way. Mm-hmm. It's like the guy is so unpredictable. And like you said, he likes to fuck with people. He's so unpredictable that it could just fell to the wayside. You're like, blah, blah, blah. Just put it off for bigger things. We got bigger national things we got to deal with, and I'll deal with those later. And then it just never materializes.
Because he's not looking to run for re-election. He's either going to... this is either going to be his last term, or he's going to do some kind of crazy thing to stay in office for the rest of his natural life. He doesn't have to do anything nice for them. Like, he doesn't get anything out of it. You remember when he was last time he gave out pardons, he was doing those for $1 million. I think it was like $1 or $2 million like checks to hand out pardons.
That's the
he doesn't do anything out of the kindness of his own heart.
I agree, but it's not for the kindness of his own heart. These are people who, and
if he does not, that he gets the same thing whether he does something or not.
Well, no, because once they're out, they are going to be the most vocal voices for him out there, and that whatever he says, he is untouchable. He can come out and say anything, and he's releasing. These are uber MAGAs. You think MAGAs are bad? Take a MAGA who owes his freedom to Donald Trump. You don't think he wants those kinds of voices? He's going to print out his own shirts. They're probably going to be brown. They're going to get little chevrons or whatever on them. And
that's what's fucked is that this possibility and that possibility, they're both equally possible. It's like let's say if he did nothing, and he just another betrayal, if he just did that, would we be surprised? It's like, would that shock us that he did that? No, we wouldn't. No. If he did,
would it really be a day one thing though?
He said it would be a day one thing. He said, he has said he's going to do that. He said he's going to pardon all of them. He'll be pardoning himself, and then he's going to start the political prosecutions. And that's the other thing. When he's doing the political prosecutions, he hates showing up to any of those things. He hates showing up to his own when he's going to trial. He hates showing up, and there isn't a huge crowd. Well, a lot of that huge crowd is in prison. So the first thing he's going to do is get them out of prison so that the crowds are larger when next time he's in federal prison. He wants people who aren't afraid to throw a rock through the window. And by the way, now, once they're out, they know if they get back in within the next 2 or 4 years, they're going to be popped right back out again. So he's got his own small private army willing to do just about anything because at least at the federal level, they're bulletproof. Because the second they get in trouble, he pardons them again.
One of the things that Trump also was saying that he might do on day one, and I'd like to start with Joe on this question, is I'd like to know, what do you think would happen if Trump actually deported like 20 million illegal aliens? What happens to America if he actually does that? Because what I don't think people understand is that's not just removing illegal aliens. That leaves a huge vacuum there, doesn't it?
Well, first of all, if Trump tries to deport 20 million people or however millions of people. There's
changes from 2 million to 20 million on depending on what
there's
hour
going to
it is.
be there's going to be a logistical and financial problem to doing that. And so what does Trump do with those people? Because he's not paying to send them all back to their homes, right? And this I mean, not to speak of German history, but this is how all of that started. We're going to deport all of these.
I didn't even think of it going that way, and I hope it doesn't.
And that wasn't it just wasn't something they could pull off, really, because it's not reasonable to do. So what does he do? Because he's going to round up these people, right? I mean, and just to go back, I think that Trump definitely lets those people out and then gives them jobs, because he has a necessity to keep his base whipped into a frenzy at all times.
What do you guys? Anyone else here got a?
I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know what it's going to look like. The range is just so from innocuous to terrifying. What I am betting on is the slew of human rights abuses that are going to be coming from this. It's going to be insane. And I have no doubt it's going to make the shit that was going on during his first campaign, it's going to make that look like fucking grade school. That I anticipate that the slew of human rights abuses, not just against illegal immigrants, people who are here unlawfully, but against naturalized citizens as well, because they're not concerning themselves with the legwork to differentiate between these individuals. They're just going to go after them, and the innocent people that are going to get caught up in this, especially with that fucking snake Stephen Miller at the helm of this shit. I can't even fathom the families that are going to suffer as a result of this.
Well, I was kind of thinking about the impact on your economy actually as well, because whether these people are there illegally or not, they are filling kind of a need, right? Like, people think food's expensive now. What happens when all of these workers that are there working on these farms are no longer there now? How expensive do you think your food's going to be?
If I understand what Joe said correctly, that's not going to happen. And I very much agree with Joe. The reason is because you cannot deport that many people. It cannot be done.
Yeah, the logistic nightmare.
So it might damage the economy a little bit as you start to deport some of them, and or as they start to run away or something. But he's going to have to come up with another solution, because Mexico's not going to take them. He can't. He doesn't have the manpower to do it. He doesn't have a place to put them. He doesn't. So what's he going to do? So now he's got one of two choices: either he completely reneges on it, in which case no real damage to the economy, or he starts rounding them up. I completely agree with Joe. I don't think we get. And by that point, the economic question is not the fundamental question we have to address at that point, if that's where it gets.
Right. Scary stuff, man. I don't know what's in store for you guys between now and the next 4 years. And I actually think that what Trump is going to do and his cabinet is going to impact you guys for a lot longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, we're still trying to recuperate.
Thank you for reminding us. I was having a great day until I came on here. Thank you.
Great pep talk.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be a pep talk.
Our neighbor.
Fucking Canadians.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go get on my phone and order some more Xanax.
It ain't like it's not like we've got a Timmy O's around the corner to go and and escape all this bullshit. Okay, so.
Well, I mean, if anything, like I said, it taught me a little bit of a lesson, right? So I'm starting to pay closer attention to what's happening here, because if you guys don't know, Canadian elections are generally pretty boring, but we have our own Trump on deck, and our election has to happen at the latest by October. But in Canada, when an election could start tomorrow. Like, it literally could just be like, our prime minister could go,
that's right.
Let's do an election tomorrow.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the campaigning is like 2 weeks long, if that. It doesn't even have to be that long. And our prime minister is.
Wait, how do you vote?
So, okay, if you really want to know,
you staple it to the back of a moose, and you send the moose to the capital.
Yeah. The first vote to arrive to the capital wins.
One maple leaf or two.
Yeah, no. So we have a multi-party system. So it starts with that. We don't actually vote our leader, right? So we don't vote for our prime minister. We vote for the person who represents the party we want to support in our district. And when they get a seat in the House, whoever's got the most seats, they get to pick who the prime minister is. So whatever party has the most seats, they choose the prime minister. It's just kind of, we know who they're going to pick if they win, right? So like Justin Trudeau will campaign for his party, and we know if we vote for Liberal, for instance, that they'll vote Trudeau as the prime minister. The Conservative Party has Pierre Poilievre, he's like Trump, only not stupid and not orange. So it's a little bit scarier, because if he gets in with a majority government, we're fucked too. Now, luckily, we don't have just a two-party system, so getting a majority government isn't easy. So hopefully that will happen.
So is it kind of like
on that though?
So is it kind of like at the House, like where we vote our our reps, and then and then the reps vote for a leader?
Exactly. Yeah. Except we don't just have two sides. We've got multiples. We got multiple sides.
Yeah, we get that. Stop bragging.
Yeah.
I like my moose idea better.
Yeah.
I like
just,
moose too.
Just slap the moose on the ass and then sit back and drink emulsions, and the first one to get to the capital is the one that takes it.
But keep in mind, it backfired in Israel because Netanyahu is now a slave to a very small, a far right-wing group. But the reason he's a slave to them is because he doesn't have a majority without them. So the coalition building required to take his right-wing group and make it strong enough to keep him in power required this small right wing that threatens to leave at any time unless he keeps going off and murdering other countries.
The funniest thing with
hot for moose there.
The funniest thing with Pierre Poilievre right now, like the most Trump thing right now from this guy, is he is accusing Trudeau's cabinet of having spies. He's actually like, I think there are people in your cabinet that are like working for Russia and all this stuff. So he wants access to like top secret government files. He's entitled to those files. He is entitled to those files. But you have to go sign for your security clearance. That's all he has to do. Trudeau keeps telling him, you can have all of the top secret clearance you want. You just have to go get the fucking clearance. He's entitled to it. He's allowed to it. He just has to go dot his I's and cross his T's, and he could have access to it. What does he do? He stands up and goes, why won't Trudeau show us these papers? It's like, I can't until you get clearance. It's so funny and not funny.
Well, so he's actually nothing like Trump at all. Or maybe he is, because he thinks that basically if it's top secret, that means it should just be stored in the bathroom. Anyone can just go find it and look at it.
Yeah. So our father in the green in our chat right here says that the NDP has been growing in popularity. So the NDP would be our absolutely like most left-leaning party. And normally that party would be like the party that the other parties would be like, we'll give you the thing you want if you give us your vote so that we can get things done in the parliament, right? But yeah, they are gaining popularity. It would be an interesting world if NDP was in charge, because we would be really far left.
Hey, if you like take in all the Americans that are fleeing the country, we're like the most liberal crew. So we could make that happen for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is the other thing people haven't. I mean, it's like there's that expression, no farms, no food, which is completely true. And liberals have a tendency to look down on conservatives, and they should not do that. We should not do that, me being liberal as well. And I have a tendency to do that. But having said that, no ivory tower, no depleted uranium bullets for your, or shells for your tanks, no reactive armor for your tanks, no, disease-free, would still be living with polio without the ivory tower. So let's, remember that, maybe a good college education is actually worth something to some people.
And a lot of people are also right now in my country blaming Trudeau for things he has no control over. The same thing as with Biden, right? People complaining about the gas prices, which are set on the provincial level, not the federal levels. Trudeau doesn't really control that. Housing, like Trudeau's cabinet put together like a housing program, and it might be kind of flawed apparently, but it doesn't matter. The program is in place for the provinces to use, and they're not using it properly. So so they're blaming him for a lot of the problems. The premier in my province, you guys are going to just love this. He right now is sitting on $7 billion of unallocated health money. Our doctors and nurses are still overworked to the bone since the pandemic. He has $7 billion that he could throw at hospitals and healthcare
What the
workers,
hell?
but he's just not giving it out. He's just sitting on it, literally.
Why?
No one knows. No, he literally
And-
hasn't replied to why.
And no one's holding him to it, like holding his feet to the fire on
Or just
this.
like release the freaking funds. It goes to the healthcare. Like
Because we got that same problem here in Oklahoma. The superintendent of education, the motherfucker Ryan Walters, was supposed to allocate $3 million. I think it was a tune of $3 million to Oklahoma schools for asthma inhalers. And because asthma inhalers were not like standard to have in nurses' offices in the state, it was like a weird oversight. And so a bill was put forward that this money was put forward, $3 million, to make sure that there were rescue inhalers in every single nurse's office and every single school in the state. Seems pretty simple, right? $3 million to provide medicine for those kids who need it. That $3 million, no one knows where it went. It just disappeared.
How many
DeSantis in
billionaires?
Florida.
So
How many
the question
billionaires
is,
do you have in the state?
right? And so, but like here in Oklahoma, that got despite the whole like Bibles thing in schools and all this other crap, that didn't get anybody's attention. The minute that $3 million, like where'd the $3 million go, Ryan? The AG was right there. It was like, yo, okay, so where's the money, dude? So it took him messing with the wallets to do it, but at least the Attorney General of Oklahoma step in and go like, yo, what is this? Hints of impropriety. What the hell is going on? So now the AG is breathing down his neck and he's looking at investigation for it. So we have that. It's not in Canada.
No.
It's not. DeSantis took all the money that was federal funding allocated for disaster relief, and nobody knows where that money is. And they've had 2 natural disasters. He's like, we need money. It's like, didn't you get 27? You know, how much was it they got? I think 27 million a year for disaster relief, and that money is gone. Nobody knows where it is. Ron DeSantis.
Andorra brings up here a point of, so coming back to our premier sitting on $7 billion. So he also wants to, if you didn't know, and I think a lot of people probably don't realize this, Los Angeles is not the epitome of bad traffic. It's actually Ontario. Ontario Highway, the 401, is the most dangerous highway on the planet. It has
Can't be worse than Los Angeles.
It is absolutely worse. Anyone in Los Angeles who has driven the 401 will tell you I miss LA. This highway.
Damn.
So Canadians apparently love highways. I recently learned, because I'm now researching this. So anybody in the audience right now who's Canadian, stay tuned, because me and my channel buddy, I've never voted in a Canadian election in my life. And after this experience, I am definitely going to be voting and paying closer attention.
What the hell, dude?
Maya, honestly, you know what we argue about over here? You know what normally is a policy argument here?
What's better, moose or maple syrup?
That and like
is 2 apologies not quite enough, or should you go for 3?
Yeah, or like we have a maple syrup reserve. It's like, how many barrels should we release? You're laughing. We actually do.
No,
it's
the direction of the string, because we're talking about Trump and the election. Now all of a sudden it's the 401 versus the 110 and the maple barrel reserve. So I just think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So,
Canada and their
the
horrible
point I was getting
problems.
to, the thing that I learned is that apparently to win an election in Ontario is to promise more highways. That's apparently what we want.
So is the Maple Reserve, is that like a strategic national
It
reserve
absolutely
that you're
is.
not allowed to release it to influence prices?
We store it like you store oil. No joke.
what?
I was really
as well.
wow.
There's
This reminds me of the maple syrup, that maple syrup heist that took place.
That's what I'm
I
talking
remember
about,
reading
yeah.
about that. It was like a big organized crime thing.
that was at our reserve.
It was like it's like literal organized crime.
Dude. They tried to steal
Why didn't
barrels
you
of
tell me
really
this was
thought-
come on, this was so worth coming on this show just for this? Oh my God!
I
wanted to
really
be
thought the
cheered
maple
up.
syrup thing was a meme.
No,
Holy
man.
shit.
No, the maple syrup mafia is real.
Wow.
Canada's like 70% of the world's maple syrup production, and most of that is from the province of Quebec. And they have a reserve that they keep full of barrels of maple syrup. And there was an attempted heist like a decade ago or something.
It was in I got it here, freaking the great labeled the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist. Called in the papers in French, the maple syrup heist of the century was the theft of over several months of 2011, 2012, nearly 3,000 tons of maple syrup valued at 18.7 million Canadian from a storage facility in Quebec. The facility was operated by the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, which represents 77% of the global maple syrup supply. Adjusted for inflation, it is the most valuable heist in Canadian history.
How do you offload something like that? I mean, it's not like there's like
every
middlemen
Canadian has a
for-
forklift license. It's not that hard.
no, I'm just saying, like, I mean, like, okay, if you got pot, you know who can distribute it and so on and so forth. What do you do with like, hey buddy, you want to buy some maple syrup? I just gotta. I mean, that's
okay. So they offload.
Or you just like, hey, Kroger or Costco.
Yeah, exactly. They offloaded as the operation progressed. The thieves started siphoning syrup directly off of barrels in the reserve without refilling them. The stolen syrup was then trucked to the south in Vermont and east in New Brunswick, where it was trafficked in many small batches to reduce suspicion, and probably that's where your overhead gets made up, is the markup. It was typically sold to legitimate syrup distributors who were unaware of its origin. Where did this syrup come from? And so they just stole it and they just cut it like drugs. It's pretty much what it is. They got it.
So you'll understand maybe a little bit why it wasn't so important for me to necessarily vote, because these were things that were like, meh, I could take either side. You know what I mean? Like, we have universal health care and abortion is included in that. The topic we discuss is whether we should allow 3 different types of abortion drugs or just these 2. Like, that's really. But now we've got Pierre Polivier, which is a little bit bigger deal.
Nick,
your friends need you to open up your asylum.
And
policy,
Nick, you're gonna love this. Yeah, Nick, you're gonna love this.
Vote in.
You know how they discovered the heist?
How?
So the barrels themselves were the syrup was stored in barrels that were white, unmarked metal barrels, and they were only inspected once a year. They discovered it when a worker. When Inspector Michael Gavreau was doing an inspection, and they typically
are there statues of him? And I'm sorry.
Well, they have to climb up the barrels in order to. So the barrels are all stacked, and he was climbing up these barrels and damn near pulled them down on top of him because they didn't know that they were empty. He was expecting them to be 600-pound barrels, and because he was doing an inspection, it was climbing up them. They all fell over, and he was like, "What the hell?" And that's how they found the heist. They discovered that these
when I moved into this town, I remember the police blotter is always published on the front page of the they got a little town paper, and there was one that was just like, okay, let's see what the crime is here, and it says 12:41 p.m. call from the cafeteria at the local high school, chips stolen. 1:22 p.m. chips recovered.
Yeah, but this was actually.
I don't know why we never look in the attic for comic relief more often.
Yeah. But this Pierre Polivier guy is a little bit more serious. So another thing that Canada does is part of our universal health care, for example, is gender affirming care for all ages. So there's a barrier, right? Like you have to speak with psychologists and therapists and all that stuff before you get the right to that care. But it's included, it's paid for, it's all part of it. He abolished it in Alberta.
What? Oh, yeah. Fuck.
Wow.
You guys are responsible, however, for like the worst piece of human garbage, maybe short of Trump, but I'd argue this guy
Jordan Peterson's not my fault.
I'm not even thinking Jordan Peterson. I'm thinking Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber.
I thought you were going to go there, but I was like, but the Jordan Peterson thing. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it depends on.
That might
It depends
get my
on what you
vote.
mean.
Bieber.
It depends on what you mean by what. It depends on what you mean by
Listen,
the. It depends upon what you mean by is.
Yeah, okay, fair. But when he goes to the Anne Frank house and puts into the thing signs, and hopefully Anne Frank would have been a believer, really, when he decides he wants to see the Great Wall of China, but it's too much to climb up the stairs, so his bodyguard has to carry. Really.
He's a hardcore Christian now too.
Oh, that's
He's almost like completely gone. He's just hardcore. I swear he's probably this close to like a Christian rock album. I swear he is.
Oh dear Lord.
Then he will go the way of Creed and others.
Yeah.
For the very same reasons, because there is virtually no market for that crap in the U.S.
I'll push back
small.
a little bit on this Alanis Morissette comment because, I would challenge. I would challenge anybody to find someone to put out a 13-song album and have 12 of those songs go to #1. Just think of anybody.
Taylor.
I wouldn't even actually know. Taylor.
Michael Jackson.
Even Michael Jackson, I don't think ever put out an album that was like 95% #1.
Never.
No.
No, but Taylor wouldn't surprise me. I don't think.
Yeah. When the new millennium flipped, Alanis Morissette's "Jagged Little Pill" is the album of the century.
Yes, "Bad" by Michael Jackson. Let's see, "Bad" by Michael Jackson. "Teenage Dream" by Katy Perry. "Greatest Hits" by Queen. "Thriller." Volume 2, "Hard Knock Life" by Jay-Z.
Doesn't count. A greatest hits album is stacking the deck. It's like
yeah, I'm not talking about. And actually, you know what? That 13th song that I mentioned on Alanis Morissette's album that didn't go to #1, it's not listed on the tracks either. It's a secret song. So
let me see here.
All right. Before I had a question for everybody.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to need to go pretty soon. I don't know what time.
Yeah, me too.
But, yeah, okay.
What do you got there, Maya?
What do you think the Dems have learned? I've been hearing this question on a lot of panels, and I'm cynical.
Nothing.
What do I think the Dems have learned?
Yeah, from this loss.
That Trump, hopefully they've learned that Trump is not playing by the same set of rules. He is playing with much different set of rules, a little bit more hardcore. There is no lie he won't tell. And if you tell it long enough, people are going to eventually believe it. And as I said at the top of the stream, he's been saying the lie for 8 years.
And you think
that's what got him the
Dems have learned that?
I don't know if the next election, if the Dems are going to play the game the way he's played the game, or if they're just going to continue to be honest, straightforward, and political as they normally are.
Well, I think the idea is, what have they learned from this?
Yeah,
is that the things they know, but have they learned anything from it? And I'm going to say no, because
I'm with GL. I really hate to say that. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually agree with him.
Okay,
Joe, what do you think? You've been quiet.
I agree with the let's break the law and then the guy. I actually agree with that guy.
I think they maybe. I mean, it's still really early, but I think maybe if anything, they've learned to quit underestimating the.
Actually, that's a very simple and
powerfulness
hopefully true point. Yeah.
Of those hateful messages and stuff.
I hope
that might be one of the reasons
right.
why we're all so kind of like can't get over the fact that he won.
I hope he's right.
Yeah.
I hope he's right. I hope he's right too.
Yeah, underestimated.
I'm always right.
He's got a good point. It's a good point, and it is early. He is right that it's early to make that.
I mean, I'm just really concerned about all the things that I'm hearing on MSM. God. CNN, MSNBC, like a lot of the networks, it's all, we people don't want to hear, us being compassionate against, for trans people, or like a lot of anti-trans rhetoric, a lot of It's the other one that I hear a lot where, I mean, just, I don't know. I feel like they think that we're too, quote unquote, too woke, that we need to be more centrist, at least the way the media is portraying everything. And I understand that they have to tout the narrative of their rich owners, but I'm wondering if that's also the message that the DNC is taking away from this too.
Yeah. Well,
I honestly think the only saving grace, like the one big saving grace that we have, is that unless this changes, like I said, it's still early. Like y'all said, it's still early in that respect. But the federal government cannot dictate what the states do. So thankfully for the 10th Amendment, we still have a measure of separation there. And so with like the previous, like the message of my stream was aggressive organization. So, which I think this is going to come down to the local level. The battleground has moved out of the street, moved from the halls of legislation into the streets outside our very homes. And so it's going to take local organization. It's going to take those efforts like what got Obama elected. People at the ground level building up, because I know it seems fatalist and doomist in this. I think that the top of the system is broken. The DNC is not going to fix itself. They are too, divorced from reality. Same with the GOP. They both are. It's all fucked. Which is why I understand the rage of like Gen Xers and millennials, and that the anger of that to just burn the system down. It's not about putting Trump in. It's not about putting that. Just putting the person in who will facilitate the end as quickly as possible so that we can rebuild. So I'm not for that. I don't think that's the smart option, but I get the anger. But it's going to take aggressive organization. And fortunately, the state within states at the local level, cities, small towns, that's where the organization has to take place until, before we can't anymore. And that's where we have to, that's where the kind of realignment of our priorities and our goals, that's where that's going to have to take place so we can push upwards. And then we'll see the change that we want, hopefully, that we want.
Well, I think you guys were already on the front lines of the fight even before the election, and I think you should all continue and keep reaching back to pick up guys like me and bring us forward so we can help you along the way as well. So I know that's going to be my mission when I finally hit 1 million subscribers before the end of this year. I'm going to go and reach back and bring some more warriors forward as well, if I can say warriors without sounding super cheeky. But I mean, we're already kind of sort of doing that now. We need to increase our audience sizes and help those coming up improve their audiences as well, such as President Sunday has done for me here tonight, right? Like, brought us a fantastic audience to hang out with us and laugh with us and choke on our own tears a little bit. With that, I kind of think I already kind of know what most of you guys are up to. So, I mean, Maya, if I may, you got to check out Maya's Bad Science Sundays. We got a Bad Science Sunday coming up tomorrow, Maya.
Yeah, so if you guys see Dr. Top around, tell him happy birthday. Today is his birthday. So tomorrow, he's making me for his birthday stream. He's making me go over Flat Earth.
Oh. Man. Just,
oof.
Maya, haven't you been through enough?
I am saying, like,
hey,
I'm depressed, and he's just like, I just want to kick you while you're down, though. And I'm like,
so Maya, I really would love to see a stream where you guys talk about how they're going to react after the final experiment. Like what are your predictions as to what's gonna come out? That will be funny. How far are they willing to go to try and get around that? I just think,
Wait, today's President Sunday's birthday?
Yeah, according to Titan Uranus, if you want to believe them. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them to just say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, well, tell her Titan till it's Nick's birthday too. Happy birthday, Nick.
Yay, Nick.
Yeah, so Bad Science Sunday is my favorite way to end my week, that's for sure. So keep going over there. Also, if it wasn't for Maya, Bad Science Sunday would just be Dr. Tapioca Weasel. And Maya, we all know, is the only one who can tame that weasel. So keep that up. JL, I just watched your video that you released the other day today, and it was phenomenal. So anyone who's not part of the Bridge the Divide YouTube channel, well, shame on you. Go over there and subscribe and check out his latest video, as well as his live stream that he did last night, because Jeff, who couldn't join us here today for whatever reason, at the end of that stream had a lot of colorful language to say about the situation in the US, and it was actually kind of inspiring. So make sure you guys check that out. Oh, by the way, Maya,
than me.
yeah. Well, by the way, Maya hit 1,000 subscribers as well. So I didn't want to. I want to make sure we.
Nice.
Yeah, she worked a long time to get there.
Well deserved. Yeah. Hell yes.
Thank you.
And
Nick,
I also have the Stage of Reason stream, which is the stream I do on the third Sunday of every month. So that's coming up on November 20th, I do believe it is. No, November 17th. November 17th will be my Stage of Reason, where I bring up a special guest, and we talk to believers about what they believe and why. And I fully anticipate getting a lot of Trumpanzees in there as well. I have no doubt about that. But Justin was on for one of those where we sat down and chatted with believers and stuff.
That was a great time.
It's usually a really good time.
Believers.
Yeah, I know. That's what I honestly I heard it too. I just wasn't going to say anything. But
believers. Yeah, I see that. Yes, believers.
Nick Suter over at the In Time Show here on YouTube. He did a couple of live streams. Did you do 2 yesterday? Actually.
Did we end up doing 2? No, I think we just did. We did one. But we ended up getting like 3 or 4 by accident. But that was is Titan in because if Titan's in the audience, I can't blame him because when he finds out I've been blaming it. Yeah, he's here, so I can't. It was Izandering's fault. And,
and do you have anything scheduled, planned coming up?
We do. You may or may not have heard of Brigadier General. Oh my God, spaces. How have I? Ben Hodges. We're going to be having him coming up this week, former number 2 guy at NATO. And between him, Lieutenant Commander, Commander Lance McMillan and Navy man Izandering are going to be breaking into the Canadian Maple Reserve, and we are going to be taking we're going to be going for. I think we can do 200 million barrels of maple that we're going to try to bring down to in time. Just for that's going to be the most exciting thing we're going to do. No, we do downtime on Thursdays for anyone who wants to come in. And
after you learned about the maple syrup heist, you were in the background, like changing the YouTube title and just pivoting.
Yeah, exactly. We're going for it. We're going for it. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we are absolutely going for the Maple Reserve. And then we're going to do we do news shows on Tuesday, and we do breaking news. And we're very proud of the fact that a lot of our breaking news is actually ahead of mainstream media. We beat Reuters, AP, CNN, Fox News, ABC, NBC. We beat all of them reasonably frequently with breaking news, sometimes even by hours. So come check us out and see what we do, and join us on the Discord too, and you can see us there. And I am Canada. I'm coming for that maple, because that is I get the maple frosted donuts. I'm a fan.
Well, anyone who, if you didn't know, I got all of their channels linked in my description just below. So go check out all their channels and click on their links in the description, including Joe, the Kentucky Atheist. My favorite part of Joe's streams are easily the members only streams. So go over there, become a member of Joe's streams, because that's where Joe gets real. And right there, that's the members only Joe stream. See, there, you did it again. This is Joe when he streams members only. He's always looking down at something. He's always exposing his heart when he does the member streams. What do you got going on over there in Kentucky land there, Joe?
In Kentucky land, tomorrow I got Zach from the Shaken Fist coming on at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and Sunday's just such a great day in atheist YouTube. There's so much stuff on to watch. I do a show, Zach does a show, Ember does a show, Maya does a show, and those all take place pretty much back to back. Yeah. Do you do a show on Sundays too now?
Yeah, I'm trying to shut down that bitch Ember. No, I'm joking. But I do a show on Sundays. I try to be as done before Ember's show is done so that I can get over to watch Ember. Because if I don't go to watch Ember's show, CZ, Ember always links to Maya's show when she's done. So if I go to watch Ember's show, I can just be hands-free and know that I won't miss Maya's show. I'll just be changed over to Maya's show. Because
your show falls in between the other two. Like
in a perfect world, mine would end before Ember goes live, but it's cool. She seems all right with it, so it's okay.
Yeah, all kinds of atheist YouTube stuff on Sundays, though. Everybody's got a stream on Sunday, so go watch everybody. And Bad Science Sunday is easily the best of all those shows, I think. So check that out tomorrow night.
I should probably get with it.
You're in politics on Sunday. Is it just one Sunday a month, or
I do? Stage of Reason is done the third Sunday of every month. I'm thinking about expanding it, and if I do that, I probably need to get with the atheist coordinator to find an open time slot for Sunday, so I can see where I'm fitting in there. So
we'll get you set up.
I mean, on that note, I'm not even doing a regular show tomorrow night because I'm going to be over on Skeptic Haven with Neil, the 604 Atheist, doing call-in show for 2 weeks in a row. So I didn't annoy them enough yet the first week with Secular Rarity. So they invited me back for a second week. So I'm real excited. And then next week on my channel, right here on Skeptic Spin, I'm holding another debate. Why? Because the last one I did got 1,000 views, and for me, that's huge. So this time we're doing is Evolution Real with the sexiest man in science, Grayson Hawk. So against Octavio. So Octavio debated Mark Reed last time.
I'm loving Grayson, and I like that he's getting progressively more and more spicy now that he's been dealing with this long enough. It's starting to come. Like, he used to be such a nice guy and be like, it just approach it like this. But the more you do it, the more aggravating it becomes, and I like it, that edge is starting to come out. I'm liking it.
My DMs right now on Discord with Grayson are he can't fucking wait. He's like, he is seething. Like, you can.
I'm so ready for the Dark Grayson arc. I really am.
Because he hasn't debated in a while, and he is so jazzed and pumped and excited. And Octavio, who is awesome to come and come on the channel and have those debates, is also great. He's just some random YouTuber I discovered. I felt that he had an honest aura about it, right? We can all agree that debates can become clown shows pretty damn quick, but he actually looks like he wants to try to engage honestly. And with that, it should be good. I'm not looking for any massive drama here. I'm just looking for, a 90-minute in and out, good time with that debate. So I'm ready to end the stream. Does anyone else have any final words to say? All right. I expected that, and I brought someone sort of who does have some final words. So anyone here knows Seth Andrews? Yes. Seth Andrews, I emailed him. He put out a video a couple days ago that in 2 days hit 190,000 views. I clipped the last 90 seconds and got permission to show it to everybody here. So I'm going to hit play on that. Final words from Seth Andrews, and then I'll end the stream. We'll be gone. But before I do that, everyone who came here from President's Sunday, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Anyone who was here before President's Sunday rated us, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys for coming on the panel and hanging out with me and letting me, I don't know, I hope I didn't put too much salt in those wounds. But
there is one thing I did want to say. Impugnation.
Oh, Pee Wee Herman's word of the day. All right. So I'm going to leave with this 75-second final word from Seth Andrews, and we'll see you guys all again next time.
Bye.
I look at the people. Tens of millions of people voted for authoritarianism, corruption, grift, oppression, division, hatred. I'm going to try to remember them, but I'm also going to remember the tens of millions that resisted. And I refuse to do what MAGA culture wants me to do, give up and let them operate unchecked and uncriticized. They want us to check out. All right? Because if we check out, then Nation A becomes Nation A and B. Standing against the threat is the only hope we've got of somehow salvaging what the United States was supposed to be. The agents of harm must be confronted by the advocates for humanity. And even if this country self-destructs all around us, we can hold our heads up and say that we never gave up, we never stopped fighting, we never surrendered our values, our humanity. We can say proudly that our conscience is clean. Let's work together to make sure historians also remember that.